They guessed the wrong one. You would not guess this one. But the movie is that children's animated classic Alice in Wonderland. And the famous scene where she is 3 inches tall and she's going through what she feels like is a forest to her. And she runs into the hookah smoking caterpillar. And he says to her, "Who are you?" And he's blowing these smoke rings that form the letters that hit her in the face. And she's like, "Ugh." And she says to him, "Well, sir, I hardly know. I've changed so many times already today." And he gets all flustered and frustrated, and he says, "Explain yourself." And she said, "Well, I really can't explain because I hardly know myself." And he gets even angrier, and he yells at her, and he says, "Go eat the mushroom." And she says, "What mushroom?" "Well, the one you're standing on." And this is, the one side makes you larger and one side makes you small. You wonder what Lewis Carroll was really thinking at that moment when he wrote about that. But Alice is confused about who she is because of all of the crazy things that have been happening to her. Ever feel that way? Yeah, right? And who we feel that we are morphs and changes throughout our lives, and very often the result of, some pivotal experiences that happen to us. And so the age-old question, right? Who are we? Religions, philosophies, sciences have been created, have grown out of trying to answer that question, who we are, what our origins are, right? So this month we're going to explore some possible answers to that. Now, I don't have the answer. I don't even think there is a right answer to this, but we're going to have some fun exploring some possibilities, okay? And who knows, maybe something will strike you that creates an aha moment and, changes your perspective of things. All right, so, in New Thought spiritual communities, which is what this is, we often hear the saying, we are spiritual beings having a human experience, right? You've probably heard that a million times. Maybe you've said it a few times yourself. And it feels right? We resonate with that idea. Spiritual beings having a human experience. And so, once you sort of get to that, okay, I can really feel that feels right to me, then it leads you to the next question, which is, why? Why would we, spiritual beings, infinite, divine beings of love and light, why would we want to come into this very limited human dimension that is fear-based, that is run by greed and inequity, and there's pain and there's loss and there's competition and why would we want to do that? Right? Ever wonder? Why would we do that? Why would we, as spiritual beings? We are limitless. We are, expressions of divine light. We are pure awareness. We are swimming in a sea of love and abundance and joy. And then we voluntarily decide to come here. Maybe it's not voluntary. I don't know. Maybe it's purgatory. Maybe we're working off our karma. Maybe we just want to experience contrast. I don't know. And not to say that that's the fullness of our lives. Obviously not. Hopefully, the majority of your life, is filled with joy and love and fulfillment and, peace. Hopefully, that's the majority of your life. But there is suffering, right? We don't want to deny that. There is suffering here. So, maybe we came here to help heal the suffering in this dimension. It's a possibility. And so when we get to that understanding, and then we the next question pops up. Again, why? Why is there suffering? Why is there suffering here? And so once you ask questions, once you've answered questions, it leads to another question, which leads to another question, which leads to another question. Pretty soon you feel like Alice in Wonderland. And again, not that there's any right answer here. I just don't think there's a right answer. But what I know is the story that we believe to be true about who we are and where we originate really colors our experience and greatly influences the course of our lives. And there's a lot of stories. There's a lot of stories. Anywhere you go on the face of the earth, wherever there is a collection of humanity, there's a story about our origins, right? A story about who we are. And very often we are born into that story. So if we grow up believing that we're born of sin, that we are, flawed and weak, we'll have a tendency to feel that we're not worthy, that we're less than, that we're not good enough. That colors our experience until we have a transformation, a renewing of our minds, right? And if we grow up believing that we're born of oneness, that our origins are of love and light, that we are from infinite love, we're going to have a completely different experience. It's going to be more likely that we'll remember and know our true worth and that we have a purpose in life. And if we grow up believing that we're just this human body with a brain, that there's no spirit, that there's nothing that comes before and nothing that comes after, that everything happens by chance, that person is going to have a completely different experience than the previous two. So it's the story that we believe about our origins that's powerful in creating our experience. The story that we believe about our origins is powerful in creating our experience. And, the current scientific understanding of our origins, which also becomes our story, is that we are the result of this large, random event that occurred. A random event, sort of improbable odds, that the right conditions existed at the right time, in the right way they happened, in the right environment for life to be created on the earth. And some scientists have a really fun time trying to calculate the improbability of those odds. In fact, there is a Swiss mathematician and physicist named Marcel Golay who calculated the odds of that event happening as 1 in 10 to the 450th power. And then other scientists think it's more like 1 in 10 to the 600th power. So what is that? I'm not a mathematician, but is that
600 zeros?
600 zeros, yeah. Well, that would take up an entire page, wouldn't it? 600 zeros. Oh my God. And I don't know how they come up with these calculators. I don't know. Who knows? But in the words of Nobel Prize-winning chemist Ilya Prigogine, he says the statistical probability that organic structures and the most precisely harmonized reactions that typify living organisms would be generated by accident is 0. And even better than that, this guy had a lot of fun with this idea. It's English astronomer Sir Fred Hoyle described the statistic the improbability of this happening. He says it would be the equivalent, quote, the equivalent of a tornado sweeping through a junkyard and assembling a Boeing 747 from scattered debris. End quote. In other words, ain't no way, right? Ain't no way it ever happened by chance. So, if not by chance, what then? Well, intention, right? Is that kind of the opposite of chance? It's intention. And if it's intention, it's intelligent. An intelligent intention. So, we talk a lot here in this community, and I know I talk a lot about the universe being energy and intelligence. This energy, everything is kind of created from this energy intelligence. And I say a lot that it is this one universal love intelligence that creates, guides, and governs the universe, that creates, guides, and governs this planet, creates, guides, and governs our lives. This wonderful intelligence. So that, we talk about that a lot. We kind of study that. We meditate on those ideas. So now some people would say, oh, that's intelligent design. Have you heard that term, intelligent design, which is not creationism. It is a lot of people get that confused. It's not creationism is a religious story, right? That's a creation myth. And again, there are a lot of creation myths. Like wherever there is humanity, wherever there is, a group of people, there is a creation myth. And some of them are really, really fascinating, really interesting, right? A lot of them. They all have different things. Now, of course, the Judeo-Christian belief in this culture, we have a creation myth, a creation story that God created the heavens and the earth in 7 days. The first two humans are Adam and Eve. Eve is created from Adam's rib. How about that idea? And that Eve was tempted by a serpent to eat the apple. She ate the apple. She sinned. Also, Adam ate the apple too. They were both kicked out of the kingdom, and we're all descendants of that original sin. Hello. And if this was a traditional church, and I was a traditional minister, I might be preaching that, right? I might be saying that's what we need to look at, either factually or metaphorically, either way, as a warning to you. But we're not, right? We're here to explore possibilities. We're here to explore possibilities and to listen to our inner guidance about what we believe is true. Now, the Egyptians have a really fascinating creation story. And it goes something like this, that the earth was created out of this watery, infinite nothingness in a cloud of chaos by the god Atum. And that they see the earth as this sacred landscape because it reflects the sky, which is where they believe all of the gods reside, in the sky. And then there's something to do with gods being birthed out of a giant egg. I don't know how that fits into the whole thing. But I do know that the humanity was birthed from the scarab, that when it transformed into a child. That's why the scarab is a sacred symbol in Egypt. And when the child cried, the tears became humanity. Isn't that beautiful? There are some beautiful, and I know, Michael, you know a lot about the Celtic creation stories, and some of them they're just like so interesting and so fascinating. We know that native peoples and a lot of earth-based traditions believe that, Great Spirit, a lot of them have a common thing, Great Spirit molded humanity out of the clay of the earth and then breathed life into us. And they believe that the divine essence is within everything. It's within all of nature. And, we resonate to that understanding too. The Japanese have a really interesting creation story too. Look it up. You'll have fun with that one. So the idea is, it's all different depending on what culture you grow up in, right? And a lot of them have this idea of humanity as special, as blessed, as, intentionally created from the divine. It's really the Judeo-Christian belief that also includes this idea that we're sinners and we're, flawed and weak. It's interesting. No wonder there's so much, so much shame and all of that in our culture, right? So present in our culture, guilt and shame. All of that comes from somewhere, right? So on one side, we've got the creation stories, right? The creation stories that explain, everybody's trying to explain, right? Who we are and where we came from. It must be a human need, a deep human yearning to know who we are and what our origins are. And so we've got this, and then on the other side of that is the, current scientific explanation of who we are and our origins, the theory of evolution. Has been the current understanding, accepted understanding for the last 150 years. And so intelligent design kind of is somewhere in the middle, maybe closer to the science idea. Some people call it a pseudoscience. That's true. Some people say that. And then other people say, actually, there's really a lot of strong scientific evidence that the complexity of humans, the anatomically modern humans, which is what we are, that the complexity of our thinking and our advanced language skills and our advanced manual dexterity and our the way that our blood clots, many other systems within us, and also the intelligence in our hearts, that's being proven. We have intelligence in our heart, in our gut. That all of that sort of came about all at once without the benefit of the slow process of natural selection. So there's something else going on there, right? And not that evolution is not a thing. Of course it is. Of course it is. It's just not the whole picture of who we are. It's not the whole picture. Yeah. So, even Darwin had his doubts. And he knew that in the future that we would create some new scientific methods to test his theory. And he said this, even in The Origin of Species, he writes, if it could be demonstrated that any complex organ existed which could not possibly have been formed by numerous successive slight modifications, the hallmark of evolution, my theory would absolutely break down. He said that, So, who knows, right? I certainly don't have a scientific background. I don't know. I just try to, use some discernment and my gut instinct to follow what I know is true. And what I know is that what we once thought was God's truth, some new information comes along and boop, just kicks that one out the water. It's happened many times, right? In many different places. So we want to really always use critical thinking skills, our discernment, and couple that with our gut instinct. Because the story that we tell about ourselves and our origins really colors our experience and influences the course of our lives, right? So let's choose something empowering. Let's choose something empowering. And I don't think there's anyone here who doesn't, in their heart of hearts, believe that that divine intelligence, that divine essence, is not only within them, but within every leaf, every flower, every bird song, every snowflake, every sunset, right? Every time we see that and we allow ourselves that sense of awe, remember we talked about that a few months ago, allowing ourselves to have a sense of awe with nature and with the amazing world that we live in. You know, that truth that we know deeply. But here's the thing. We need to consciously, intentionally choose to remember who we are. Consciously, intentionally choose to remember who we are. And reconnect with it. You know, and really important to do when we're having a challenging time. You know, when life gets real. Really important to remember that. I had a really challenging week, let me tell you. You know? And so I have to practice this too. I have to practice. And it's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. It's the practice of consciously, intentionally remembering who we are. And whatever practice that you use, there's many different practices that many of us use. Meditation, walking in the sacred spaces, chanting, singing, yoga. You know, there's just prayerful intention, all of that. Whatever your practice is, when we do it on a regular basis, and particularly when we're having a challenging time, we're reconnecting with what we know to be truth, right? We're consciously, intentionally remembering that divine origin that we are. That divine origin. So let's say an affirmation together to really get this into our bodies, into our DNA, deeply. All right, so you'll repeat after me. Who I am is the divine expressing. Together. Who I am is the divine expressing. I originate from infinite love. I originate from infinite love. Let's say that one more time. Who I am is the divine expressing. Who I am is the divine expressing. I originate from infinite love. Okay, breathe that in for a moment. We want to anchor ourselves in the awareness of who we truly are. And we get that, and it infuses our lives, and it colors our experience, and things begin to unfold in a way that demonstrates that truth that we have claimed and accepted, that we know to be true. Practice. Right? Namaste.